good as practice.
This is the way. Where's my "This is the way" gif?
Yeah, I don't know. Managed to pick up one of the Aussie shirts actually that year as well.
Yeah, I think I shook your hand this year.
Yeah,
Were you playing for the Mercs or?
Yeah, no, I was playing for Wales again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
Okay.
Mercs.
Kind of,
Zing.
yeah. It's okay. We're getting some more Welsh guys
No.
in.
We love you,
Yeah,
fuckers.
we
we're live.
The Irish, the Scots, the Welsh, and the Aussies.
Yeah.
Same blokes.
Well,
Just
I
the
got
same
to the
dudes.
point where like everyone was like grudging each other, so you didn't have to play any of the like crap teams. And then
Yeah.
you guys like grudged USA. We're like, fuck.
What are the really crappy WTC teams that you never want to talk to?
No comment. I'll tell you afterwards.
Oh, damn it!
Off there. You never know when they're listening.
Well, they're listening right now. Hello, welcome to Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to Stream Street Day 159, the 40k adjacent show. The Falcon is perched in his seat, potentially asleep because he's had 2 hours sleep. Hello, Falcon.
Perfect.
Are you this tired because you've had to? Are you this tired because you've had to keep up with all the current 40k rules, or not sure?
It doesn't take anything to keep up with them any longer. I just gave up. I mean, it's
just go play.
I gotta figure out what terrain I'm gonna start bringing to events now.
Okay. Yeah.
I got a couple textbooks. I'll try to set those up, I guess, as line of sight blockers. We'll figure it out.
I've heard Rosetta Stone are going to be doing a video soon, very much where they just read out the rules to you. Rosetta Stone, me. That's my new project. I'm reading things out. We're also joined by, on the 40k adjacent show, the wonderful, you may have heard him on every podcast in the world, Adam Camilleri.
It's me, isn't it?
It's you. It is. Hey, buddy.
Hello, everybody. I'm wearing my Canhammer shirt because go Canada, because Pete's here.
Yay.
Go Canada.
That's that Canada spirit.
The real home of 40k, I think. And also Mr. Tom Layton. Thanks, Adam, for being here. You can listen to Adam literally anywhere, but specifically, if you'd like to hear more from Adam in the future, you can hear him at
FTN and Out of War Down Under. FTN being on FTN everything, and Out of War Down Under being on the Frontline Gaming Network.
Yeah, is it true that FTN is actually the 37th most popular podcast in gardening in Norway?
Yeah, it is. We have this one segment, Gardening with Paul, where he regales you with how he grows such fabulous begonias.
Perfect.
It's quite well renowned for it, actually. I'm gonna bring that up with him. He'll be so happy. Does Adam ever work? I actually do have a day job. You'd be surprised.
Wow.
But you'd be happy to know I don't work very hard.
So Owen in the chat really enjoyed your fabulous bio podcast.
Hey, thank you. That was a really good one. That was with Liam Hackett, absolute champion of a human being. If you want to see more of him, check out the Normal Blokes podcast. It's a couple of lovely blokes from.
Don't do it.
He's probably right, but you probably should do it.
And also joining us on the 40k adjacent show, Tom Layton, standing in for Val. Standing in for Val because, of course, they could never be in the same place at the same time. The world would implode.
It wasn't it wasn't a passport issue. He just couldn't be there because I was already in the country. So,
is it true? Is it true that we think that Tom might just become Val as he grows up? When Tom eventually gives up on his hopes and dreams and finally sells out to the man, he might become Val. Is that the plan?
Yeah, but it also means I get to breed, which is nice.
I don't think having kids is called breeding. I don't think that's.
That's what you got to tell. That's what you have to tell your partner's.
Yeah, right.
You specifically have to tell the ladies it's called breeding. You're allowed to call it anything else.
Hello, honey. I'm from the Ram Ranch. Would you like to breed?
From the Ram Ranch.
From the Ram Ranch. Well. It's been an exciting week in 40k since we last talked. Pete, you weren't here last week, so we didn't even get to ask you. And Adam, I haven't heard your feelings about, obviously, the codex upgrades that we're going to hear, that we're going to see, like 2 Wound Marines. And I'm sure you've probably talked it to death at this stage already on other shows, but I'm interested to know your feelings. And, of course, there's also talking about that sweet-ass terrain book, because who knew that was coming and what was going on? So
how do you want me to start?
Well, I mean, you guys choose. Any of that strikes your fancy and you feel you've got something to say on, I want to hear it. You guys go. Whatever you want.
I'm happy to
go for it, Adam.
I'm almost trying to hand pass it.
Okay. Let's talk about the terrain book since it's fresher. What a piece of garbage release. Other than like I feel like they're making me pay $50 to know how to set up terrain in 9th edition. Like that's what I feel this is, and I hate it. like that's the one thing everyone has been asking for since 9th launched is, hey, you guys told us we needed one piece of terrain for every 12 by 12. So that's 18 pieces on the new boards. And then you gave us example pictures that were like 10 to 12 pieces. So obviously, which one are we supposed to use? And then we have people online telling us how to play it, and they're all different.
But it's online, and they're idiots.
But in all cases, they say that no matter what you do, it's not enough terrain. So I'm just super hopeful that the GW would be like, hey, here you go. Here's a couple templates. And it looks like that's what we're getting, but we're getting it in what looks like to be like a $50 book where they want you to, where the pitch is that it's to start bringing them to tournaments. And no, that's just maybe
or we could just not use it.
Maybe for just like your mom's like RTT in the basement and there's like 6 people, sure. But would I want to pay all that money for that? Like, just give me 4 pictures that say like, here's some recommended terrain from the playtesters. Bam. Magic.
You do know that the current 40k scene is just one-day RTTs from people's basements.
And the Midwest United States. They don't care. COVID's a dream to them, so...
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a shame that they're... I don't know what the correct word is to describe them. Morons, I guess, is the one I'd use. I don't mean the whole group. I just mean everyone involved in the entire process, the community, and everyone thinks that what they're doing is okay. It's probably what I mean. But I mean, ultimately, do I care about North American viewership? No, because in 6 to 8 months, like, they probably won't have any outside communication with the rest of the Earth. So fine, I jest, not at all. I think you're idiots. So, is that okay? Is that strong enough, or should I go further?
Seems pretty strong. Seems pretty strong.
Seems
good.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Strong position to take.
Okay,
everybody has an opinion. Like, I think they shouldn't be running as big as they are, but they did it. They did it as safely as they felt they needed to, or that the government told them to, for the latest one. We'll see if it continues. Not my shtick. I wouldn't have gone, but that's a whole other thing. So
okay, all right. So terrain. I mean, maybe I don't think there's much to discuss. I think Adam, what do you think? How do you feel about it?
So this book needs to be the most well thought out and well implemented book GW has ever done for it to have a mediocre, tiny percentage of having any successful translation onto the actual tournaments. This needs to be the best book they have ever done, the most airtight, functional, rational thing ever, and for it not to be the most ripe for exploitation and ruination.
Did I lose all of you? Is this a me thing? Oh no, I've lost all of you. That's not
slabs of carpet. Yeah,
hold on. I lost you all. I'm sorry. If you could maybe go again, Adam. I lost you at the most well thought out. Apologies.
Yeah, so it has to be the most well thought out thing GW's ever done for it to actually be successful. Like, consider this. Let's say like I said, you're a tower player, and you've got to bring 3 pieces of terrain. Let's hope that there is some kind of restriction on the size and density of these terrain pieces. Or I will actually, like, as a tower player playing a gun line, I will actually bring 3 1 foot by 1 foot slabs that are 1 inch tall pieces of cardboard. I will spray them, I will flock them, I will chuck them on the table, and then you will have literally nothing. There'll be nothing. I'll put them right in the middle as well. I'll roll off to who places the first piece. Right in the middle, there is nothing. There is this dead zone. And then the opposite can happen. I'm playing nothing but like Nurglings. And I'm going to bring the biggest, tallest, widest ruin you can ever imagine and fill it up with 30 Nurgling bases top of turn 1. This thing has to be watertight. It has to be absolutely watertight. And I'm not going to cross my fingers for it.
No,
I feel like this might go the way of that Aeronautica book they tried to make us play at the end of 7th edition. They tried to add like a dogfight phase to the game, and everyone was just like, let's move on. And we all did, and we forgot that book existed until like this moment.
Yeah.
I think that for me it feels like it feels tough because previously you would look to the ITC for the like more maybe competent rulings and the setup for stuff like this. But I feel like maybe they're ham-tied now. I don't know what the word I'm trying to say is, but I feel like that they might be a bit tied up in trying to maybe second guess these rulings or put something out about it. And ultimately, there aren't tons of tournaments anyway. But like, I do wonder where it's going to go and what people are going to do, right?
Also, a good thing about the ITC is if it's wholesalely rejected by the player base, the ITC will do. They'll at some point they will be forced to go to a vote, and it'll get voted out if it's not worthy to be playing at ITC level.
Yeah.
That is the good thing about the ITC. Like eventually it will come around, and who knows? It could be fantastic. Like I said, I'm not gonna hold my breath, but at the same time, I'm not gonna be absolutely damning before I see the product.
Yeah. And like with WTC as well, if you're running like a team event, a lot of those events already have like fixed tables, so there's no need for this book anyway. So that's already straight out the window of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Sweet. So the terrain book covered there. I think it's a bold choice, Cotton. I'm interested. What about? Yeah. Go on after you. Sorry.
No, just it's a very interesting choice, and you know what? Maybe it is just for funsies, and we're a little aggravated for no reason. It just feels like such a weird pitch this early into the edition. Like it also was like 2 or 3 years in. They're like, here's this $20 book. Like, okay, cool. Yeah, thanks, bud. But this is like super early to the edition.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, this is how we think you should run tournaments, and that's how the pitch felt. Anyway.
Yeah, especially after you had all the other stuff, and then when they write in the article that's announcing it, this is for use at tournaments and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, thank you. Nah.
Yeah, rough.
I agree with Nick. At this stage, are you guys excited about the book, which lets you know how to manage and organize all of your books?
Yes, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Give me a nice folder.
As
long as it launches better than the app.
Rob, 1 second. I've had a brilliant idea. 1 minute, mate. Let me just pause the microphone while I roll back and get it.
So, okay. I didn't know ideas were stored places, but that's interesting. Yes, Meatballs, thank you very much for subscribing, by the way. And also to McLeod, thank you for subscribing to the
You see this
Wargamer.
chapter approved?
Yeah.
You see how it's a ring binder?
It is, yeah.
I reckon the reason it's a ring binder is so you can insert more rules into the ring binder.
That makes sense, but it's not. It's a ring binder where you can't add additional bits of paper because
No, it isn't. I could see it in the back.
Oh, does it have the unclip bit?
Well, I mean, there's a little slit you can stick them down into. It'll take you ages, but then it's Warhammer, so you know.
The plot thickens.
This is exactly the plan. Then, obviously,
Yeah, of course,
make it as hard as possible for people. But this is what we wanted.
You're already making you do like how many things before the game starts?
Yeah.
I can't imagine how many PPE face shields are going to be made out of that book. That's all I can really think. Like the leftover stock that they have, they'll be able to build new buildings from of that new book, and I don't expect it to sell particularly well or even be adopted. So it's kind of wild. And I also would feel like the community leaders would have had some voice on the subject, but they're particularly quiet on the subject, which makes me feel like that it's not got any approval at all, kind of from the upper echelons, if that's what you call them, down to the lowliest Gretchen, or 400 Gretchen, depending on your choice of army list.
Yeah.
Which is the correct way to play Warhammer, apparently.
Lastly with that book, I know there's this. So in Age of Sigmar, every army comes with this specialized kind of terrain piece. You've got the furnace for the fiery, spicy dwarves. You've got the junket kind of trophy thing for the beastmen, the whatever crap.
Yeah, you're smashing it. You're doing real well. Yep.
I'm doing fantastic here, guys.
Obviously, pro player.
I
Watch
keep
out.
telling you were wrong, so you might as well just keep going.
I'm assuming you got a cauldron of some kind for the witch chicks and Marathi's babes.
Even Age of Sigmar players don't know what any of these things are called, so you're good.
I know. But is this the 40k version of this? Are they trying to make everybody buy a terrain piece? Because there have been terrain pieces coming down for most of them. We got the poo tree. We got the bastion for the sisters.
Yeah, but those are fortifications.
We've got the Eldar
Yeah, I
weapon.
know. But are they trying to make everybody take a fortification? And now they're just trying to double down on it because we're going to be buying
Well, I will say with that new fortification FAQ, like they might as well be terrain pieces at this point. So
yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, if they make that Eldar Webway portal free, I still won't take it. It's not worth it.
Nor the Mech Boy Workshop. It does less than not having it.
And now we own one. Yes. Thank you, FAQ.
And how good was the knight one where you have to not shoot your knight? You have to walk up to it, like presumably away from the enemy, and then not shoot your knight. Phenomenally good there.
Well, but maybe because and this is an important thing to point out, is obviously they were all written for 8th edition 40k. We have seen, and that makes me cycle back. Segue, fucking high five, Rob. You're getting this after 159
high
days.
five yourself, you cringe bastard.
Well, it's COVID, baby. Social distancing high fives.
Yeah, thank you. I also spend 98% of every day completely alone in this box. Like, staring at you three now is the most human contact I'll have today, and I'm loving it, so thanks. Anyway, my point is we've seen some significant rules changes, and Pete, I haven't actually got upcoming rules changes. So new codexes, weapon profile changes, wound profile changes. We obviously know, because we've seen some like sneak shots of the kind of sub-faction rules, that there's some changes there in a bit of a downgrade. But the real question is, like, and I especially want to get like your three's view on this, although I have spoken to Tom about it. I wonder how much you think that's going to affect the game state. Talking about terrain as well, they definitely could just change the rules for the terrain in those upcoming codexes, make them applicable, maybe even make them free. Maybe that's why we're being set up like that in this way, because you've got the terrain force org chart bit, so you can stick that in. So they've made it so terrain's very viable to take. So I wonder. Like, number one, do you think terrain might be put into the codex is the first question. And second question, how do you actually feel about the overall overhaul of the rules?
I think fortifications are just what they are in terms of this terrain business. I really like the Marines are getting a new one. They're going to push them as best they can. This new FAQ where you have to keep a 3-inch separation from terrain makes them next to useless in most cases, though. Given like I don't know if they quite, when they did it, I felt it was a little slapdash because I don't think they realized how big of a footprint that extra 3-inch makes its most terrain pieces, to just so that they're not playable in an event
that the board's smaller as well.
Yep. So I'm not sold on that part. As to like all these changes, I think it's going to be a real messed up time for competitive 40k for a little bit, because I think Imperium and Chaos are gonna take particularly Imperium factions are just gonna like skyrocket for a while. Maybe Necrons will be ridiculous broken when their codex comes out, and they'll be like the only playable Xenos faction. But looking at like all these new profiles, it's hard. The new Melta profile is spectacular. And if everything that's a Melta gun's getting it, that's great. If everything that is like a fusion potato or whatever every other faction gets also gets it, then it's not so bad. But,
petition for fusion potato. Petition. I want that.
Not sold on that part yet. It's going to be an interesting time. Space Marines getting a codex with some stupid broken models is kind of par for the course, like those ATVs. If their leaked point cost is their final point cost, everyone's just going to run like whatever 24 of those or whatever their maximum is going to be.
Are they dedicated transport?
No, don't tell me that. The fact that they didn't have the vehicle keyword in their leak is what's broken to me, because you can use apothecary on them if that's true.
Fine. I'm just trying to work out how many you can spam. Like if you have to take them in squads and they're not dedicated transports or troops, then it's like there's going to be a cap on that. But
I mean, like if the squad's 3, then I mean everyone's
going to 9. Yeah.
But if it's like 6, then everyone's going to run 18 because they're just super good for their points. They're just way too efficient. But maybe the final points cost is way higher and it's not a concern, but I feel it is. I feel like it's going to be a concern. that new stationary gun spectacular. Like Space Marines are going to
It's
be
not
tough.
stationary.
It's not
Alvin,
stationary.
they're 3 inches.
No, I
It's-
know. Sorry, it's stationary is what I meant to say.
I have never been so fucking livid about anything in my life. Ever.
It had a 3-inch movement, and White Scars make it like move 9 and still shoot.
Oh,
Fuck
yeah.
off! Move at 9! It doesn't make any sense.
Can you advance it as well if you don't want to shoot?
Well, yeah, you
That was the
can.
thing.
Go
But,
50
like,
inches,
with
White
yeah?
Scars, you can advance and shoot it, and then you can also double move it with White
Okay.
Scars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can really spike it up to be
18
this like
nice.
hyper fast moving.
Are you
Space
fucking
opera.
joking me?
No.
Are you telling me I have to buy 3 of them? Like, and they might come in squads of 3, so 9. Paint them as
Yeah.
White Scars, just so I
Yeah.
can scream at anyone who's around me like some sort of conspiracy theorist.
Drag
I'm like,
racing around the
yeah,
board.
yeah.
Rob,
I'm
have you
like,
seen
why
Darren-
am I doing this?
Oh, have
Why
you seen
am I doing-
Darren's tortoise?
Yeah, yeah.
You
Oh my
just put those on it.
just to
a
clue
logo
you,
on it, mate.
just to clue you two in, Darren's one of our co-hosts for Age of Sigmar, lovely fella. He really is into animals. He adopts them all the time. Just got some new dogs, super cute. Adopted them from like Romania, I think.
Romania.
But he also has a tortoise who hurt his leg, so they've gaffer taped a wheel to his shell. And
Like a Lego wheel. It's like insane.
Nice.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
yes.
cute.
And we get updates when Darren comes on and does a list show. We do get updates on how the tortoise is doing. So very much, that's what the 80. Like, I'm pissed. Like, I'm so upset you brought it up. Sorry, please, Pete. You were talking. It makes me really fucking mad. That one thing is.
It's pretty silly, and like so I think that it on paper it doesn't look good for Xenos factions. It looks like there's going to be this like huge spike in power level for a little bit, for particularly Imperium, lesser degree Chaos. Although someone's going to figure out something. There's going to be some Forge World Chaos model someone forgot about that has like 18 melta-guns, and now they're dumb. But it's really going to be a real interesting place. 2 wound Marines, tactical Marines, doesn't do anything for my boner. 2 wound Plague Marines, depending on how they point those and when those get leaked out, that is going to be silly.
Have you heard the rumor about the Discuss and Resilience going away? So no
Yes,
Discuss and Resilience.
it's going to be I've
minus
heard,
1 to wound.
-1 to wound. Yeah. And that's I've heard from a pretty reliable source, so I think that's legit.
Yeah.
Well, see, I always thought Necron should have kept the DR. I thought that should have been their thing, because it was their thing. It was their thing for far longer than
Anyone
Feel
else?
No Pain was for for anybody else.
It was like third ed book, that wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And there was the We Will Be Back.
Yeah. And but there's also the phase out rule, but we don't talk about that.
No.
So for everyone who doesn't know, the phase out rule was when you get to 25% of your model count, your entire army just disappears.
Oh
Yep.
dear. Oh dear.
Yeah,
That's
it wasn't
it was
a
the
good
same.
rule.
It was very
for
funny.
Skaven back in the day as well, or is that
Yeah.
just if you killed all the Skaven characters, they just?
I don't know. I didn't play fantasy at the time, so.
But yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Rob knows.
There you go. Yeah.
Good shit.
Well, okay. So I agree with you, Pete. I think my biggest. I'd like to get Adam's view on it as well, and then kind of talk about what the future might look like, not knowing. Like, what does the future look like, not knowing? I guess. But Adam, what are your thoughts so far on the rules changes, or not even rules changes that are coming?
So I've been told from a semi-reliable source, or a source that I trust, that usually does right by me, that the release cycle for Codex is going to be a lot slower this edition.
Good.
It's good and bad.
I get it.
These first 2 will really set the pace. If this Space Marine Codex is anywhere comparable to the last one, we're going to be in for a shit show for at least 3 months.
Yep.
I think that's pretty much what Pete said. We're going to be in for a shit show for everybody who's not Imperium, or who can't ally in Marines.
Yeah.
I think I'm pissed off that Marines are getting 3 codexes essentially within 3 years. That feels bad. It just feels bad. As anybody else. I mean, the only time I played with Marines was with that first book. I only got that broken book.
Ravens, yeah.
And I didn't. I played Black Templars, man.
Oh shit.
Okay. I don't know. I was high on most supply back then. It was a fucking weird time. Transitional period.
We all have one.
I was convinced I was 40k god and I could make anything work. How wrong I was.
Well, you live in Australia. It's almost true.
It is true. I didn't think I was good, by the way. I'm talking shit. So I've got a feeling this. So I have one wish from the Space Marine Codex, and for them to unbreak the successor chapter bullshit. If you're a successor chapter, you don't get whatever the fuck you want, everything from the regular chapter. You don't get all your cake, and you don't get to have your cake and eat it too. You actually have to give something up. If they do that and just add all these broke-ass units, maybe it'll balance out and they'll stay about the same level they are now.
Yeah.
If those stay the same and they get all these other units, they're just going to be worse than they are. They're going to be back to where they were when they first released, before the 3 layers of FAQs came in and made them tolerable. I'm not even sure they're that. They're only tolerable because I understand how broke they are when I go to an event now. Like when I was playing at the Iron Hands, the broke Iron Hands shit, I didn't actually. Every time I thought I understood how broke they were, there was like 3 other layers of buffs that came in. I'm like, what? They got super tech marines now. What the fuck is this? They got super apothecaries to go with their super tech marine as well. This is great. And a super chappie, all in the same army. Cool. And I'm playing guardsmen.
Yeah.
Well, so do you think there's an argument? Because it just appears to me, so Marines are effectively the base. Like, stuff is either not. Sorry, I don't mean in totality. When I say stuff is either stronger or weaker than Marines, I don't mean like as in the whole book. Like, or
they're the
should be stronger or weaker. Yeah, they are the baseline. I feel that's probably the right word. Like, I feel like, now I'm not saying that Games Workshop has the technical ability or know how to do this, because they've shown us no example of ever being able to do so. So take this with a pinch of salt. But I would hope that would be the philosophy going in, and then I could kind of understand it. You were like, okay, these are our baseline stuff. Like, you know, are semi-elite to elite, and they should be fairly elite, really. It's only stuff like Custodes and really like unique Eldar elements that should be kind of, I mean, there are other examples, I'm sure, actually, but effectively the baseline. And then all the other codexes can be kind of passed off that, and you could just be like, okay, like this unit, I want it to have the same output as this Marine unit. I don't want it to be as survivable, and then you can kind of write the rules that way, and also and the weapon profiles and everything, and then you could also set the points that way, and you can kind of work off something. Like, is how I feel it should go. Do you think that might be the case? There's a hopeful hope in me that that's kind of the setup.
Yeah, I think that's what they've kind of alluded to in this kind of in the prequel to Ninth, where they said that people were saying that the Intercessor was going to kind of be the baseline unit that they were going to point things off of as the game progressed. And I feel that, and I agree. I think that's the best way to do it. It's just I think we've had a real rough go the last 6-9 months at this point of just like them not being able to do that, right? Like Space Marine Codex came out, it was very strong. It was definitely one of the, if not the strongest codex at the time, but then it also suffered from being too elite almost. Like you couldn't take all comers. But then as supplements came out, you're like, oh no, I can easily do this now. Like, and then Psychic Awakening was supposed to be the great balancer. The Eldar one wasn't that good other than like 2 things. So we realized it wasn't going to be a great balancer. And then Faith and Fury really made us realize it wasn't going to be the great balancer when they made them even better. And then after a bunch of FAQs, they kind of got toned down to the point where we missed out on Tau and AdMech being so broken, everybody was going to hate them instead. So unfortunately for GW, coronavirus meant that we missed out on that kind of terrible time where Tau won everything. And now we're kind of back. We're like, well, Space Marines are the best again, and they're about to get a codex, and I don't know. I don't know. It makes money, so I know why they're the first codex. I just wish it wasn't. I wish that they had picked somebody else for once. Anyway.
Well, so I know like Tom's feelings on this, but if he wants to reiterate it for you guys, how does that make you feel about like the tournament? Like, we know October for the Space Marine book, and we know that there's a significant change. Like, if you were to make suggestions to new players or people looking to return to 40k, or even people who want to maintain kind of competitive 40k and as a backdrop, I know there's always an evolving meta, and I know there's always a shifting meta. I get that, and there's so many leaders in those communities, like people who make content all around. Adam P, you guys are intimately involved with so many of those awesome groups of people. But my point is what advice do you think, or what are your personal feelings? Like, how do you feel about trying to maintain some sort of idea of what the hell's going on. Either one.
Did you direct that towards somebody, or
sorry, either Pete or Adam or Tom? I know Tom's.
I mean, I can go very quickly. So what I've done is I'm not really going out to tournaments at the minute anyway, apart from to look for people with Welsh grannies. But apart from that, don't worry about it. That's what I spent my weekend doing. So what I've essentially done is I've got myself a 60 by 44 map behind me, and Ishik from a WTC has hooked me up with some of his terrain, and that's currently being shipped to me here. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to play games against myself on my dining room table, just so I can keep up with stuff, because I feel like when the game's moving so quickly at the minute anyway, which is why I'm glad to hear about the slow release cycle, which although it means when you're inflating everything anyway, it means you're going to get a very weird period of instability, similar to 8th, where there was a big gap between books that had codices and like armies that didn't. I am able to at least keep up with it without actually going to tournaments, right? Because I don't really value like one day is too highly in terms of practice, because it very much is like, well, you play like 1 or 2 games where you get up to like the top list and then you play like 1 game. It's like, well, I could have just done that in my basement. You know what I mean?
Yep. Me and my mates here have got a similar philosophy. It's a day of gaming with your top. Well, if you're playing competitive, a day of gaming with your competitive mates is better than just going to an RTT and 100%. Maybe getting one out of 3 competitive games in.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, it depends who's running the RTT. If it's someone I like, I'll go support no matter what.
Yeah, if it's good fun, and you might as well. It's about what you want to get out of the event, right? So, like, Glassman was running some RTTs, and like, it's a bit of a trek for me to go for like an RTT. But some of my mates were going for a practice weekend, so I just rocked up down there, and we played a few games of Night together. And I played with Be'lakor behind that big super chicken, Lord of Change, because what is the start of an edition without an OP chicken? It was pretty good.
It's becoming a tradition.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, keep going.
Not long until we the T Sports Arena, Tom, and we
can run it.
We can run we could run little RTTs all day there.
Yeah,
it's
great,
sweet as. Looking forward to that, because I agree with you guys. I think actually playing with your competitive friends can sometimes be a lot more beneficial than. But that's why I think tournaments should like diversify. You should have a competitive tournament for like more experienced players and a competitive tournament for new players. So
yeah, but everyone likes to like competitive Roblox. Look at the fucking Facebook page and the Reddit subreddit. Like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah,
I actually think I think everyone is right all the time. That's how, because I've been told you're meant to get on with everyone, so that means everyone's always right.
Well, I do try and get on with everyone all the time. The only really real way you can do that is by seeding events.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure we're quite there yet. I'm not sure people want to do that yet, but that's the only real way you're going to get that discrepancy. And then if we're doing that and we don't have professional players, and people are going to be like, what does he get seeded? He just brought this whack stuff to this one event this one time. He plays Iron Hands. He doesn't just it opens up a whole can of worms. Until we got a competitive circuit, fuck it.
Yeah, just a circuit's really what you would need for that.
No Invitational 2017 cough.
And I think for the people at home that don't have like a bunch of, or they don't think they have a bunch of competitive players to play against, don't sweat it right now. Like, there's literally like 1 event a week, if that's anyone is willing to talk about. Everybody is kind of in their own little box right now when it comes to what works and what doesn't. So who knows who's even right anymore, right? Like, there's some really good players out there coming up with great ideas, but they only get to play against the same 2 people over and over again. So who knows if what's good is actually what's good, or it's just that they keep playing those 2 people anymore, right? So they haven't seen the new strategies. I just keep my ear to the ground and listen. That's what I always do. I probably ingest more content than most people, so that helps me with my slow day job. But for anybody else that can't, just like find the people that you like to listen to them, and take everything with a grain of salt. There's some really amazing minds in this game that can kind of take apart the game without even playing it most times at this point. So take a listen. Don't buy an entire army based off of one idea, because in 2 months it's all going to change. Probably
don't buy an entire army
right now. Anything since. So just wait it out. We're going to get 2 codexes in October. I imagine we'll get 2 more for Christmas. I would imagine
that was my
Christmas
assumption.
Time we'll get 1 to 2 more, and then probably every couple months it'll be what the release schedule is. That's my guess. Who knows? Maybe they'll burn it up, but
My assumption is we'll get one to two every 3 months instead of like two every month, which is what we were getting.
Yeah.
That's going to be slow though. Like that's slow for players
That
who
is
are waiting.
Yeah,
slow.
but it enables them to spread out their love a lot more because they'll actually be able to give 50-50 time to Age of Sigmar and to 40k finally.
Yeah.
And I fully expect the fact that we're getting less codexes to mean we're getting more new models.
That'd be good. Yeah. I prefer to give time for the meta to settle so you can actually work out what's like if there's anything that if the reason why something's good is because of what it's hitting against rather than something like I felt like a lot of this with Marines, right? I felt like there were some matchups that never actually came out but could have done well into Marines, but they never came because the game just moved too fast. You were never going to get to that. So it's not just a case of, oh, well, the meta moves away from that and now it doesn't work. It was the case of, why would I buy that army when I know the game is changing like this very soon, especially when you start to get towards the end times for Psychic Awakenings, where you know the new edition is coming. And so you're going to get very little value out of those books, right? So even if we're going to get like a massive change in terms of how the books work with all these stats changing and that, it's going to be, I feel like it very much is going to be those codexes that are ahead of everybody. But if it gives people's time to settle, it's not ideal, but do I like it? Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, it's interesting. One other thing. Oh, sorry. Go, Adam.
My advice to people was the same advice I gave to people at the start of 8th edition.
Yeah.
This isn't the time to go start a new army. This is the time to flesh out the one you've already got.
Yeah.
Make sure whatever your favorite faction is, you got like 6,000 points of it. You got one or two of everything. So it doesn't matter where the FAQ goes or where the points go. You're going to have something fun to play with the one you love the most.
Yeah. And you can't go wrong with building to deal with Marines any longer. Like, just do it anyway.
Just do it. Everyone should have their 2,000 points in their app or whatever they use that just says the one I take against Marines or the Marine killer. Everyone should have that one.
The Marine blocker, I think, is more appropriate at this point because you ain't doing that shit.
Big shout out to Inez Wilson, another 40k celebrity in the chat. Thanks for subscribing.
Big celebrity with a big PP.
Big Pepe hands. So there was a great yappy. At this point, everyone's a 40k celebrity. I don't know if you know that.
It really is true. I call Inez a 40k celebrity all the time. He knows.
I'm gonna start 40k con, which is just all the celebrities, but they have to pay loads of money to come.
We're going to stick Innes at a desk and just make him sign random shit for an hour. It's going to be great.
If the money goes to charity, I'd come.
Yeah, I just need to make sure there's a screenshot to prove it does.
There's that. So my question is to you guys, because it was asked in the chat earlier, which was a fun one. So let's say you're in control of 40k. This is fun. And you get to decide the new starter box, because the Indomitus box, as we know, is not actually the starter box.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Hence it's sold out in 5 minutes, and it's not back for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Firefest 40k. Perfect. That's exactly what. Indirect Firefest is actually what we'd call it.
No.
Oh, that was funny. Okay. Well, never mind. Well, my question is to all of you. Take your time. Completely. Is start a set for 40k. What would you include and why? Which two factions would you have battling it out, and what would be the point? Who would you go for? What would you go for? I obviously go on. Yeah, go on, Adam.
Yeah, sorry. No, you go, Rob. You finish. You go.
I was just giving you guys some time to think. I'm going to go for Orcs versus someone, but currently don't know who.
I was going to go with two factions that never been in a starter set before. I was going to go AdMech versus GSC.
Oh, that's a great one.
AdMech's never been in a starter set. GSC needs some kind of bulk models that could be at a reasonable price point for a lot of buyers. I know a lot of players who want to play GSC but actually just literally can't afford to buy the models in enough quantity to make the army worth it. I think putting them in the starter box would be a great idea for GW. It would enable a lot of people who couldn't start the army to buy like bulk acolytes, get a rock grinder or a transport, get one of get some bikes and then a couple of characters. And then for AdMech, you can chuck in whatever the hell you got on the shelf. Doesn't even matter. A bunch of the new stuff. Hell, chuck a bunch of the new stuff out. Some of the bat-wingy weirdos, chuck in one of the planes, chuck in one of the toaster tanks. You're good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the biggest problem with the AdMech stuff is if you've ever collected AdMech in a reasonable quantity, which I have, you just end up with 8,000 Skitari, which you're never going to deploy. There's also never...
like a good horde army, Rob.
Well, it sounds like one, but it isn't. You're constantly like, I wonder if I run multiple 10s, and it's like, no, this is always a bad idea. But you do end up with a lot of the sniper rifles, which is fun. I think I'm clocked in at about 12, which would be a very fun list to run, I think. Not good at all, but fun. Tom, Pete, you got any thoughts about this?
Yeah, I'm going to go really boring and go Space Marines versus Orcs. And
but sorry, I didn't tell you the caveat. No Marines allowed.
No Marines.
Marines. Fuck. Okay, you go Orcs versus Guard.
Okay, do you not think the Guard models are a bit old, though?
No, so the reason I'm saying that is because lots of kids buy it, and kids love tanks.
It's true.
It's true, actually, yeah.
Yeah, just put some tanks in it, it's fine. But I work at a school, and I run a Warhammer club. What do all the kids turn up with? Marines and Orcs, and then there's a couple of kids with Guard.
Everybody, Tom's a nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, he helps children learn and be better human beings. You fucking nerd, Tom.
What a freaking nerd, man.
Disgusting. I bet he goes to other countries and there's a nerd there too. What a nerd.
All right, that's a good one. I hadn't thought about that because also someone made Pete. I know you've got one as well. Pete, you say yours, and I'll reiterate. Oh no, you don't have one. All right,
I don't have one. Go for it.
Okay, well, one of the things that came up recently was I got a Twitter message, I think a DM, and it was the conversation about we talked about moving all of the rules and all of the information online into an app or some other format. But one of the messages I got as feedback was that a book is actually really, really, really good for kids. Like a dad can sit his kid down and show him kind of the pretty pictures and kind of explain stuff and read it. And I know kids are learning off iPads and phones all day long, every day now. I get that. But I also feel like that was the first really, really solid argument that I've ever seen for producing codexes still in a physical format. And like you're a dad, Pete, you'd be able to maybe give me a better. Do you think that works? Is it more applicable in books or not?
Yeah, I agree. Well, kids are just like everybody else. They learn in however way it works for them. But books do help. My son, he's read all of the 40K books at this point, my oldest, and absolutely loves it. So it's just whether or not I want to bother getting him into a game because I don't want somebody more pedantic than me playing.
That's okay. Just stop playing and do stats.
Yeah, it's true. He could. He's better at it than I am. So. Yeah. No, I agree.
Sorry, carry on.
That's it. I'm done. I have nothing more to say.
Okay.
There was one more I wanted to propose, and it was Orcs, but it was Orcs versus Sisters.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah, which I don't think it's a combination they've ever done.
No, I don't think Sisters have ever been in a starter box either.
Yeah, it would be the right time to put Sisters in a starter box with all the new models.
I think it had a battle force actually.
They got a battle force, I believe. Okay. Yeah, but it was really limited.
Right.
I can't even remember now, man.
I think I'm changing my mind on it being Orcs because I think I don't know what you would put into that set. Maybe just you'd put the buggies in. Like I wouldn't put I wouldn't put the boys in. I couldn't justify that. How bad would it be
having to buy that set and you got just 20 Orc boys sitting around? Anybody from 5th edition through halfway through 6th edition before Dark Vengeance has 3 sets of Black Reach just sitting in the bottom of their cupboard.
I do have that. I made the entire Orc Knob army just out of Black Reach sets.
Okay, so I think if you're going to do Orcs, you would have to do something. You would have to do the Orcs differently. Just do like a speed like war sort
speed
of
mob.
Speed mob.
Wog.
Yeah, speed wog.
I would do Sisters and Nids. I like that. Sisters and Nids.
That's actually.
I like Nids. I'm into it. Make it so.
GW, when was the last time Nids were in a starter box? They were in. Was it the 4th edition one? They were in.
I think so.
Ultras.
Battle for McCrag.
Yeah, McCrag. Yeah. Then there was McCrag. Then there was Black Reach with Ultras. Then we got the one that didn't have Ultramarines but had Dark Angels. And then it's been Ultras for the remainder of existence.
Because it's a bit of a mess for new people getting into 40K right now. It's challenging. Like if you're like, I'd like to play some 40K, and you walked into a shop, they'd be like, well, okay, what kind of 40k do you want to play? And it's like, well, I listened to these guys on this YouTube video and they seem nice. They talk about this tournament Warhammer. What's that? And they're like, well, you need these 8 books.
Sit down, son. I'm going to tell you a story.
Also, you can buy this starter box. It's out in November, kind of. It's on pre-order, but it's not. It's like, oh, actually, that's weird as a setup. So I was just wondering. It's a great question that was asked in the chat. The other suggestions are Orc Killer Cans and Death Dreads versus Imperial Guard tanks and Sentinels.
No, not that. I want just Orc Killer Cans and Death Dreads versus Orc Killer Cans and Death Dreads.
Yeah, that's a good start.
What did you call them? Orc Killer what?
Killer Cans?
Cool. I thought that was entirely. I didn't know we could say that. I didn't know we could say that word on this program. I would have been saying it a lot more often.
Adam, I woke up at 4 a.m. for this. I'll say what I want.
That's the point.
Damn straight you will. I feel like we've talked about 40k.
The horrendous error of putting me and Adam on the same podcast, which could have resulted in the word "cans" being used a lot.
Yeah,
it wasn't
when you write Clint in capital letters and join the L and the I. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Yeah, we'd have ended up with that a lot, but we kind of avoided it a little bit.
I wouldn't mind Grots versus Squats. That's a good name. I like that.
That's fantastic.
That's just going to be bought a lot by Nathan Prescott. Let's be honest.
It would. I really want to get Nathan into. I really want to get Nathan into 40k because I think actually the objective-based 40k looks like it's really fun.
All right, you want to see him suffer?
No, I think.
Why are you going to give it 40k?
I think the game's in a fairly interesting place right now. Like, obviously, there's some fun articles being produced about like tiers and win rates. So that was an interesting little thing. I know the data sets aren't quite as complete enough for some of us to like really jump on board with some of those ideas, but there is information pouring in a little bit, which I find quite fascinating as to where the game's going to go. I guess. Mm-hmm. Is there anything I might have not seen? Any kind of underground news or overground news or kind of hot topics other than the major news that I might not have picked up on? You guys obviously swim in the right circles to have seen anything recently.
I don't think so. I mean, the Goonhammer article on going first and a little bit of stats was pretty good. It's a very small data set, but what they were trying to say... What they were trying to say is good. I didn't like that they added the win percentage stuff at the end because they're only using like 300 games. That's not something I would have even brought up. I understand why they did it. People like it, right? It's clicks. Yeah. But the go first data set is really interesting. And I'm really hopeful to see how that progresses. If they can get more data, if TOs can start pushing that out. So that was a really good read. I really enjoyed that. What else happened in the last week?
Could you paraphrase like the kind of results?
Yeah, sure. So they took about, I think it's about 360 games from 5 GTs, well, almost GTs in a couple of cases, like 24 players was their minimum.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So and they managed to get the TOs to get them the who went first for all of the games. And the person that went first had about a 58% win percentage over the course of all of the games, which, given the sample size, was statistically significant. Anything over about a 54 or 55% win rate would mean that there is at least some benefit to going first over going second in the way people are currently playing the game. Now, there's a lot of caveats to that, and they do list them out. They definitely did their due diligence.
I think there are a couple that I missed, but
but I mean they did their due diligence explaining, hey, here's all the reasons why it could be skewed, but it is skewed one way or another, at least right now. Terrain is a big one. Localization of events, because 2 of the 5 events took place essentially at the exact same spot. With essentially the same player base, so that might have something to do with it. Like, there's a lot going on, so that's why I'm really hopeful they can get another 3,000 or 4,000 games in before they really start nailing things down. Because that's always been for me my kind of minimum before I'm willing to talk about the meta is if I can get about 3,000 or 4,000 games worth of data. Anything less than it skews all over the place.
Yeah, that's quite interesting actually hearing, because I read one of your comments, which I thought was really, I just like reading or listening to anything you say basically, and it was and you'd said that you'd seen some really major swings in the stats over the course of their data set being 300. You'd seen major swings in data sets of 300 to 600, and so there's a lot to take away from that, and that's definitely true. Like some armies I think there's also an evolving kind of conversation about the game. Me and Tom and Nick had this conversation on the show the other day. Also, big shout out to Epiphany for subscribing. Big love. No, Epiphany, sorry. Where we talked about how Tom was talking about how flooding the board and pushing things early was a really big deal, and I'd said actually there's a really similar conversation to what happened in the very early days of Age of Sigmar, and they're kind of comparable. So I know that this isn't spot on exactly, but we eventually saw people. People produce armies that kind of like beat stuff off in the midfield. Amazing.
This is an OnlyFans thing.
So yeah, we. Pete, how much are you enjoying being? Oh, hold on, I'll finish my point. Anyway, there was an evolving way of attacking the game, and because the game's so early, there is still a production meta to do that. Like if you wanted to have like Terminators to go and like beat people off objectives in the center early, you maybe don't have those currently, or you don't have them in the numbers that you need. So for these early tournament, there's a meta evolving because of rules changes, but there's also a meta evolving because of production time. And I think we might not have seen people challenge that process of going first, jumping onto the objectives early right now. There might be ways to beat that. We just haven't seen it be put on the table yet. Make sense?
Yeah. And and the other thing is like we were able to solve the meta pretty quick, I would say, in 8th because there was no COVID. So we were putting out 8-9 GTs a week. And that made a big difference. So it was very easy to see what the top tiers were like week to week. And there was minimal change at the top end and the bottom end. It was always the middle that where you'd see, and occasionally someone would come up with this really unique list out of nowhere. But like we don't have that anymore, so it like results are going to skew wildly right now. I think I don't think we've seen what the best is or what the worst is. I think there's like we're seeing TTS results with Space Wolves winning like relatively large events, and everyone thinks they're mediocre. Harlequins are doing amazing, Salamanders, White Scars, but there's all these other factions that have stuff that we keep getting told have stuff. We just haven't seen the list yet. So I'm waiting. It's interesting. It's interesting.
Okay. Is Tom, any thoughts on that?
No, I'm just remembering some screenshots I have regarding Tyranids from February 2018. But apart from that, yeah.
Okay. Adam, any thoughts or comfy?
Yeah, I think we are very, very, very far off any kind of known meta. I think Pete said
100%.
Pete said it perfectly on a couple of occasions. The best lists for 40k for this edition haven't been written yet. They're not even close to being written. If anything, like we would need. So I always feel like there's like these different hubs of 40k. There's of course there's a North American hub, and unfortunately, the Canadian community is kind of an extension of that.
Yeah.
Surely we want to disenfranchise at this point, as I feel like an almost Canadian show at this point, being the 114th most popular podcast in Canada, in leisure.
Leisure podcast, which is mostly pornography.
It is important, yeah.
It is important.
We've got somewhere to go to beat the porn, man. It's hard.
Yeah. It's just
in more than one way. It is hard.
But yeah, I feel like we need to the first thing to solidifying a meta is solidifying the hubs, the different kind of core concepts to each place. Because everyone knows like different places, different flavors of the game. I know like Australia is looked at as having like a really bonkers backwards flavor of the game.
I mean, Russia's too, though, right? Russia's
bonkers. But Russia's amazing.
Turn up with like weird lists, and we're all like, "How does this work?"
And we crush it. So first, we need those things to coalesce into those flavors to see what the actual real different dynamics are. Because right now, all we have is like the smash them till they're dead Marine approach, and the have more bodies. Have so many bodies they can't smash you bust up approach, which I think was coined by Pete.
Polish approach. Oh, was it? Okay.
The bus stop. This was coined by our man here, Peter the Falcon. And I feel like they're the only two archetypes that have really solidified yet. And I feel like there's probably about 10 more, like give or take. And we haven't seen any peep out of those yet. But those will all coalesce over the need to combat those two first archetypes. And that's exactly the same as it was at the start of this edition. The first the start of last edition had the Razorwing Phlox being the archetype that everyone needed to factor. That was the bust stop list, and we had the triple freaking Storm Ravens with Gilliman being the smash them in the face version of that. And even though that is a bit more simplified, you can see where we're starting. Like everyone starts at this weird core efficiency concept.
Yeah.
And then we get into the nuance of the game. Then we get to the nuance of the edition. And even though we're talking about this like we're only a couple of weeks into this, we are literally only a couple of weeks into this. Even though we're 2 months into the edition, we're only just getting started.
I feel like one of the issues that we could encounter, though, is the diversification of win conditions. For example, at the minute, all you need to do is so long as you beat your opponent off the center of the board, and therefore you just hold, So as long as you do that, you hold 45 points on primary, you automatically deny your opponent 5 points on primary, and then you're getting Razor Banners and you're getting engaged in all fronts pretty much automatically, which means you immediately have 75 points, and you've also pushed your opponent off 15 off 5 points of theirs, right? So your opponent then just absolutely crush you on everything else.
Sorry, Tom. Are you talking about blowing your opponent's men off the objectives?
Not just men, but the women and children too. Well, no, just for women.
Whoa,
no.
Tom's blowing everybody.
I was making a Star Wars prequels joke, but then I just turned really dark. Never mind.
You never want to go full Star Wars.
No, you never want to go full Star Wars. But I feel like you need other ways to win the game, though. Maybe they'll come out as people start to work out new ways of doing it. But it's still the points are only available in certain places, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also everyone. Agreed. Moving on quickly because I want to, and also I want to wrap up the show. I want to quickly ask. I want to quickly ask you three. Well, Adam, you can't be a part of this, but it's
racist.
Well, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to ask Pete about his recent experiences on Twitter and how he's finding the Age of Sigmar, not Age of Sigmar, the Warhammer community on Twitter, because it's got real spicy recently. Like Twitter has not got quite the terms and services Facebook has, and you can run all sorts of OnlyFans accounts and try and do Space Marine giveaways, and it's completely acceptable. It
seems to be. It's like the Wild West up here. I mean, I'm an old man. I told you this last time we talked about Twitter. I don't know how to do anything. People were getting mad I wasn't following them. I didn't know. I thought hearts were follows, but apparently that means I like you. So it's like I'm in like grade school again. Like there's a whole lot going on with this new world for me. But yeah, it's real spicy. I'm really happy because the Facebook spice has been hurting my heart. So getting that new injection has helped me out a lot.
It's been interesting. If you don't know what I'm alluding to, I'll make it clear. Recently, a set of Space Marines were given away by a young lady on Twitter, and it was quite a lot. I think it was like 30 intercessors.
Was there a link to the OnlyFans directly underneath the giveaway?
No, but her predominant presence seems to be majoritively Warhammer and OnlyFans, which is a website for people who want to put up pictures of themselves doing things, and you can pay money for it.
The pictures move, Rob. The pictures move.
Or videos.
Moving
pictures.
Yeah. Or videos. And so it's just a very interesting time. Like it happened yesterday. I was like, I'm just interested in what's going on. Don't have an opinion. I just sat there like, let's see where this goes, I reckon.
Has anybody got that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia bit going through his face? And there's the lady's like, yeah, her awful ex-boyfriend put pictures up her on something. He's like, oh, really? That's disgusting. What horrible site did he put those? Oh, jeez. What a horrible thing to do. I wonder which one it was.
I've seen one episode of that, and that was with Robin Cardiff, and it was that episode.
It's fantastic. That show's amazing. That thing is like a meme factory. It's brilliant.
It's great. It's a great show.
It's really good. All right, well, we should head out, mainly because I want Pete to be able to go get some more sleep. But I've also loved talking to all of you. Have you guys got any final thoughts, shout outs, anyone you want to holler up? Big loves to right now.
Yeah, shout out to Guzzy. What up, Guzzy?
Good.
I'd also like to shout out Guzzy. Hello.
Yep. Shout out to Belle Delphine. You keep it going.
Oh yes.
You do you.
Very good.
Who's Belle Delphine?
Whoa. No.
Google it, Rob.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I will do. But what site is that? Would I Google that on? Is
Oh,
the-
We've been talking about it for a bit. We've
Google.
been talking about it for a bit.
Okay. This is getting real fun. Use Google, Rob. All right, I will. That's fun. I'd like to shout out Twitch chat as always. Thank you to everyone on the Wargamer Patreon. Couldn't do it without you, and of course to my hydro homies, the podcasters. I hope you stay hydrated. My H2O homeboys. That's your new nickname. I don't know if you want that. I think the podcast numbers have gone down since I've started using that term.
As they should.
Come up with a new one.
There's not many alliteration for water. I don't know if you've got any. My water wallies doesn't work. So
Just don't.
Doesn't work.
You don't need to. You don't need to.
No. But if you guys, go on, Adam. Sorry.
I only have I only have space. I only really. If anybody knows what my mind is, it's just which Simpsons quote is the most applicable response to whatever question I'm asked. Like H2O. Do you remember that? That's the water slide Homer gets stuck in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
That's just all that went through my head. H2O. Never mind. Continue. Upon your way, gentlemen.
All right, well, it's been a pleasure talking. You can find all of these guys in various podcasts. Tom is going to be on the WTC Squadcast episode recently.
I think it's just come out, apparently, according to chat.
Yeah, Falcon is on many a show, Frontline Gaming, and obviously 40K Stats Center. And you can find Adam on
And OnlyFans.
Oh, yeah.
OnlyFans.org/fusion potato.
No, it's Fireside that's the Fireside with the Falcon after hours.
Yes.
It's just you naked on a plush rug.
I'd pay.
With the
I'd
hat.
pay.
With the captain's hat, all right? There's no...
I'll have to keep it up.
Yeah.
But thank you to everyone in the Twitch chat. You guys are great. Oh, Adam, you can find everywhere. So I don't know specifically where, but you can find him on his show.
I am the warp. I am part of you all.
He is in us and around us, helping us learn.
Adam, who's on more podcasts? Who's on more podcasts, Adam? You or Scary?
Weekly me. Overall, probably Scary.
All right.
Like, yeah.
It's one of those burning questions I've always wanted to know the answer to.
I'm on like between 2 and 4 a week, and Scary is like the perennial guest on every.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm probably gonna get him on my show eventually.
Yeah. There you go.
You should. You should. Right, but so join me, Tom, and Nick on Thursday, where we'll be joined by Aceface, where we'll be discussing unit roles for Tyranids. If you guys didn't listen to our show on Thursday, where we did unit roles for Orcs, which was fun. First time we've ever done that, which I really enjoyed the process. So it's going to be exciting to talk about that with him. All right, everyone, have a great day. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Oh, go on.
Bye-bye.
Go on. We're not off. You can say it.
Ace Face is literally Bilbo Baggins. That man has not aged a day in like 10 years. Now you can go. He has the ring, guys. He literally has it. Someone get it off him.
Okay, so find more about the ring and blowing people off objectives Thursday.